Well, welcome back, and it surely has been an amazing day so far with so many interesting conversations. And we are now set to start the next session on the community management sector, where we're talking about the community manager and sustainability. Now, the panel will highlight the role of a community manager towards sustainability of an asset, the approach that one can adapt to promote a building culture that stands on the pillar of safety, quality, and efficiency. Now, before we get into the discussion, let me quickly introduce you to our panel here today. We have with us Mr. Saeed El Ahousley. I hope I got that right. He's the General Manager of Luxury Owners Association Management Services. We also have with us Ms. Dana Awad, the Executive Director of Owners Association and Integrated Facilities Management from Provis. And also joining the panel is Mr. Liviu Tudor, the President of European Property Federation in Brussels. And we also have Mr. Samir Kulkarni, who is a senior industry professional. He will be joining us shortly and moderating the session this afternoon for us is Mr. Samuel Joshua, who is a senior consultant and popularly known as OA Ninja. So viewers, please note that you can post in your questions in the chat box and our panel would address them during the course of the discussion. And we do have an event feed on the homepage where we can take the discussion out there post the session. So we look forward to having your feedback on the sessions today. Over to you, Mr. Samuel.
Hello and welcome to the second edition of Smart Built Environment. It is an honor to be a participant and a moderator for the session. Let me go on and introduce you to the industry leaders, and you'll be joined by some of the most excellent industry leaders in the industry. So I will first lead it to Mr. Saeed, who I know very personally and is a very popular participant in all these events. So Saeed, on to you. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Saeed Ahousley. I'm the General Manager of Luxury Owners Association Management Service, and we manage all the MAC portfolio. And pleased to see you again, Samuel.
Pleased to see you as well. And next I have Dana Awad, very popular. Dana leads Provis, and Dana is taking care of both Abu Dhabi and Dubai portfolio. So Dana, kindly introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be among prestigious speakers. I think today's subject can be very interesting. Other than looking at the community management, I'm personally very passionate and lead the sustainability strategy at Provis. So I think we're going to have a great discussion this afternoon.
And then I have Liviu Tudor, the President of the European Property Federation in Brussels. Liviu, can you kindly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Liviu Tudor. I'm leading European Property Federation, which is a federation of owners, building owners. I also am a building owner here in Europe, taking care of offices for multinationals. And I'm so glad to participate together with nice people, trying to have a fabulous afternoon or morning, because it's all over different timing.
And Samir has joined us as well. Samir Kulkarni is a leading professional, and Samir is joining us from, I believe, Saudi. So he should be with us in the next couple of minutes. So what I'll do is I'll go over the questions, and I have specific questions for Liviu from Europe, Brussels. So I want to make sure that I cover the entire topic. The topic is about community management and sustainability. So I'll start with Mr. Saeed, and I'll ask the first question. What is the role of a community manager in today's setting post-COVID-19?
Thank you, Samuel, and thanks to all the panelists. We are not yet, in my opinion, post-COVID-19. The regulations are still there. I have traveled recently to different countries, and I could see different setups in different countries. So the COVID-19 is still there. And the role of community manager prior to COVID-19 or during COVID-19 is so critical. Critical means the community manager is always the main point to get into a new community, to be the first interface, receiving it from projects, etc., before going to life. So the community manager plays a critical role in bringing a community into life. Then is the first point of contact also when he starts working on how to build his budget for the community and approaching the auditors for budget review, then approaching RERA for budget approval. So again, it's a critical role. The community manager still plays a big role by knowing every mover to the community or the project being managed by the community manager. The community manager has a say in defining the scope of work of the facilities management and the way the deliverables in the organization will take place post the handover. The community manager goes through the SPAs and defines the way the organization, or let's say the association, or what we call today the jointly owned property committees will work together so that the different components, in case of multi-component projects exist, how they will work, how they will live together, and how the community rules will be imposed or will be, let's say, absorbed by every resident in the community and every company, if it is a short lease company, and how those community rules will be, allowing everyone to live in harmony and peace within the community.
Very good point, Saeed. So I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Samir Kulkarni as well, a senior industry professional. Samir, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everybody. Hey, sorry, I was trying to figure out technology, but anyway, nice to see everybody. Who joined in. I don't know how many people are watching the stream, but hi, everyone.
Hi, Samir.
Hello.
Hi, Samir.
How we doing?
So right now, I would like to take the opportunity to direct a question to Samir on the same topic. Samir, what is the role of a community manager in today's setting post-COVID-19?
Honestly, if you really ask me, nothing has really changed.
Okay.
We were always managing communities. If you really look at it, you're still continuing managing communities. The only thing that's really changed is you need a lot of hand sanitizer now. You need new elevator buttons every 6 months because people are using the keys to hit elevator buttons every day. And your staff, your standards of your staff, I would say your hygiene or your sanitization, standards, that might be affected a little bit. If anybody comes with the excuse of I don't have money, I don't have a job, I don't think so, man. Every economy is on a V-shaped recovery. Inflation is the highest. So if people say we don't have salaries, I don't have a job, it might be true. But financially, assets have gone up in value globally. So I'm not referring to the Dubai perspective.
Sure.
Housing market in the US, I was looking at top 3 cities in the US, a report by Bloomberg this morning. 25% housing has increased this year. Right?
They're selling like hotcakes now.
You're from Toronto, Canada, right? You know what your asset values are.
Sure.
There.
Yeah.
So globally, asset values have gone up. So I think from a financial point of view, definitely there is no strain now. If you asked me the same question about a year ago, it was a very different story.
Makes
sense. The only things I feel is the customer perception. I need all the staff I see in the community wear gloves when they're touching anything that's a public area. I want them to wipe down your railings more often. As I said, some of your assets will get damaged because of misuse. But besides that, I think life is coming back slowly. Human beings tend to forget.
Makes sense.
So I don't know if there is a significant, I've not personally experienced, that's just my take on it.
Okay. Dana, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and comment. And while I agree with the panelists that the role of the community manager has always been very critical, and their main role is basically to safeguard the community and the well-being of the residents. Perhaps we have a bit of a different perspective living in Abu Dhabi. As everybody knows, Abu Dhabi has been a bit more on the very conservative side when it comes to COVID and the protocol followed. We basically have updates very often on regulations and protocol and what needs to be done, what can be done, the change of the capacity limits to the facilities, the way we have to manage the communities, our retailers within the communities. So I think our community managers today are really playing a very critical role in ensuring that there continues to be a safe community for the residents, for the visitors. We live with the Husn app, as people know, the green, and there's a whole science behind it that you have to stay on top of it to understand what is allowed, what is not allowed, who can come in, who cannot, who can use the communities. We had to revert to technology to be able to quickly change the capacity limits within the facilities usage. So perhaps Abu Dhabi is a different case. I'm not sure. I know Dubai is a bit more relaxed on that end, but I do think that has kept every community manager on their toes to make sure they're up to the bar, changing things, managing the community, managing the providers on the community, making sure as well the regulations are followed on their end. So we do have a bit of changes, and obviously explaining that sometimes to the residents and owners why things can be done or cannot be done. Access is restricted at certain points, capacity limits. So that has all probably changed the way community managers are acting today.
Very nice points. Earlier, you said you're passionate about sustainability, so I'll forward the next question to you. What does sustainability mean to you, and what have you done as a leader in your organization in line with the sustainability efforts?
I'd like to explain sustainability in simple words. And in a brief nutshell, sustainability is basically meeting the needs of the present without compromising on the ability of meeting the future generational needs. And to that extent, I think we need to start thinking, and maybe COVID was one of the things, a catalyst to this and an eye-opener, where we start realizing that what we do to the environment impacts everybody. As leaders and as provosts, we actually developed a full provost sustainability strategy today that captures many elements. So we were united with the goals of the UN. We have basically matched the 8 goals that actually meet our requirements. I think as an estate management company, as a community management company, the way we sit today at the heart of everything, we have a direct impact and can play a very positive role in making sure we impact how people live within the communities, plus connect with the providers and the contractors, how they conduct their own business. All of this obviously is part of the sustainability measures that we have put in place, whether we look at the health and well-being of the residents and the community, whether we look at the education and the quality of our children, how the impact that we can have through awareness campaigns on that sense, gender equality, inclusivity, making sure everybody has access to every part of the community, the continued economic growth within the communities. Obviously, one big part is innovation, and we're very technology driven, and we focus on a lot of out-of-the-box solutions. Aware of our climate to a point where we're looking at air quality sensors and air rating, and obviously responsible consumption on the part of energy. We have a lot of case studies, and I will share maybe later some of the values and numbers, what we have achieved so far, all to the community, and obviously linking to the previous session, impact service charge directly and reduce it.
Okay, excellent points. Talking about the new standards and all of that, that brings, the next point or the next question, which is, what is the new concept? There is a concept called the immune building standard. Liviu, can you please explain on that?
Yeah, concerning communities and the real estate philosophy, I think we are living the first days of some big changes. In real estate, we are no longer building walls, we have to build trust. And also concerning people, I think people will be able to make questions concerning the validity of each building. And this is why we developed, starting with March, April last year, a new concept, because we think that in real estate, we are facing a new era inside sustainability, which mainly is about saving energy. Now it will be about healthy buildings. And inside this, we developed a concept starting from whatever everybody is having in mind, which is enhancing their immunity. Because we are living 90%, more than 90% of our time indoor, we have to take care of buildings. Buildings are great, are green, are sustainable, but now they should be healthy buildings. And that's a new era. And is about what kind of measures can we apply to buildings. And inside our standard, which we launched last summer, and we already have buildings around the world which are applying 3-star, 4-star, or 5 stars immune buildings. We are applying two sets of measures. It's a standard with 135 measures. One, it's about what kind of investments we have to add in our buildings in order to be immune, and it's about a lot of things, touchless measures, UV lighting in the air conditioning, lots of measures. We are studying what is available in the medical industry, where they are building hospitals, and also in the clean rooms technology, which is the highest concerning healthy of environment indoor.
So,
and
this immune building standard, are you introducing it in Europe, in the Middle East region, in North America? Where are you exactly, what are you looking at, and what are your plans?
We are looking to all the built environment. It's not only about offices, it's also about schools, it's also about apartments, houses, shops, malls, and so on. So practically the whole built environment. The goal is, when a new pandemic or a similar threat will appear, we do not have to stop the world. We have to continue to work and live the same way we are used to, because working from home, this new concept is valid. Anyhow, it was prior to the pandemic, but that's not the solution. It's a mixed solution. The real power is in between people working together physically. Technology is not yet as developed to simulate the kind of energy a group has when they work physically. So it will be a hybrid working from home and from offices. Anyhow, there are three kinds of people. People which will love to work from home. This is how they were born. They are very productive alone. People which want to work only from offices because they want to socialize and they are much more productive in teams, physical teams, and the hybrid, probably most of the people. The issue is how we will prepare the buildings for them to ease fear and to increase trust in buildings and homes. And the immune building standard is about that. We are working with very big companies all around the world to develop the standard. The standard is under development just because pandemic is not yet over. We'll have conclusions probably after 1 year after the pandemic will be declared over. And by that time, probably we will finalize all the measures that the building should apply in order to be healthy.
Okay. So now I will, sorry, please go on.
Word.
Yes.
The second set of measures, it's facility management measures and community measures. And I want to add about communities that it's not only facility management, it's the way we handle people through the community manager. People would like to have new experiences when they come to work. Even if they are working from home a few days per week, 1 or 2, that's my prediction, that's all. And anyhow, it was prior to the pandemic. And community manager, I think, will have very new roles. I think showing to people that we care as developers and real estate owners, it will be the most important role, showing to our tenants and to the employees of our tenants that we care and we are taking measures, we invest in our buildings in order to make the new concept, healthy building, a live concept.
Very good. Okay. So talking about the employee culture and the workplace and how COVID-19 has shifted the entire workplace, I'd like to talk to Saeed about this. COVID-19 has brought a lot of changes to organization, and a lot of people have changed, jobs or have gone to different places. In this, how do you, as a leader, create a culture that bases itself upon the safety, quality, and efficiency when you have a lot of people that are not working within offices but are spread out? Saeed, how do you, as a leader, what kind of issues did you go through, and how did you address it?
Well, thank you so much. I concord with Mr. Liviu about the new concept of immune buildings. And I have the pleasure and I had the opportunity to attend the smart facilities, or animate the smart facilities, one of the conferences, where it's very important to implement, or it was highlighted that it was very important to implement the new technology. But I would like to highlight that when you say sustainability, automatically most of the employees or most of the industry players, they go directly to the energy monitoring and saving, LEED certification, ISO 50001 certification, etc.
Exactly.
But it's not the aim. To me, sustainability is more global than that. It's
excellent.
Start with the human capital. In your human capital, you can have sustainability. Are you receiving the new joiners in good manner? Do you give them the operation manuals to know their scope of works? Do you train them properly before they become your ambassadors in front of your customer? So this is a very important factor. The second aspect is the social. Are we within the framework of work in terms of sustainability? We spend more hours maybe than families. Do we have the right environment for the employee to be integrated? Do you have the right environment for an employee to help the other who needs help? So this is also sustainability, or what we call the social sustainability. Of course, the third aspect is the economic sustainability. The economic sustainability, if you don't get your budgets approved, especially you cannot pay your salaries, of course there will be no sustainability. And then the other two factors that I spoke about, which is the human and the social, will go into air. Then the environmental aspect, or the environmental sustainability, we as leaders have the responsibility to teach our employees, to teach our colleagues, and keep participating into implementing the right approaches of energy monitoring first, analyzing of data, energy savings, certifications, the air quality in the community. But part of the sustainability also, how you engage. And this is what we have done. It's true that the COVID-19 have impacted, for instance, the engagement of customers in our communities, because the events were stopped at a certain moment. But now, at least there is that flexibility of having events in the communities, but with certain restrictions, keeping the minimum distance, etc. So I think we, as leaders, have that responsibility to keep the employee first happy, having the right approaches and policies and procedures for the energy and the safeguard of the environment. Third is the engagement of the customer, which is also a top priority. It's not only about receiving a building and putting a scope of work for the facilities management service provider and leave the building and meet the committee once a year. No, it's how to get your customers engaged, how someone who is in a community has all the necessary items through the community manager to spend, to have a lifestyle in the community. This is the right word that I wanted to say. And to have that, you need to provide some lifestyle to your employees, to cascade that lifestyle to their residents.
Yeah.
Dana, do you have any points to add?
Yeah, I 100% agree with Saeed. And what I wanted to add is on two levels. Your loyalty starts with the people that you invest in, your staff, and with your residents and owners on the ground. With the staff, I think, especially during COVID, when everybody was really fighting their own battles, it was very important to stay connected through town halls, entertaining town halls. We'd play games, we would just connect for the sake of connecting, because that relationship, building that relationship was very important to keep everybody motivated, to know that they're not alone. So we're investing in that, investing on online training when we could not do physical training. We had, I think, 30 plus trainings happening online during that COVID period. And then moving on, I think we were one of the first in March 2020 when events stopped, and we realized people needed to know that we're still there for them as a community. We're part of this, we're in this together. We eventually changed our model, our clubhouse and lifestyle model, from a physical engagement to online classes. So we started connecting with influencers. We had over 20 hours plus of Provis community talks to talk people through different subjects. And we had over 400 plus online classes that captured everything to different age groups, from, you know, fitness classes to wellness classes to how do you trim your own hair and how do you put on makeup, how do you cook. We had residents come in and do cooking classes for others. And we actually did not limit that to our residents. We opened it to the community at large within Abu Dhabi. It was online, all for free, featured. We just wanted people to know that we are there. We started having our own providers performing at certain hours dances for the community, where the children can come on the balconies and watch within social distancing. So we were really there. And I think that really made a difference within the community. They realized we were trying to keep them engaged and entertained at a time when people were just stuck at home. And we found those to be very successful, that to date we've kept our physical model and kept on introducing our online classes. And there's even private trainers, and all of this still happening today. And we had 60,000 plus unique views on that. So there are a lot of things that you have to start adapting quickly, become very agile in how you do business and how you continue to engage the community.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so Samir, please.
Wow, I love this word, man. So here's my candid take on this. In the 80s, we had the word world peace. In the 90s, we had the buzzword called strategy. And I guess now it is sustainability. By the way, I absolutely believe in sustainability. So in fact, when I was with Emar back in 2008, I realized, and it was actually when I was managing the Arabian ranches, that I was shocked that nobody, and there's such an opportunity to collect recyclables. So we introduced recycling. So that was the first villa community in the UAE that had a recycling separate bin for collection. So we used to process that. Of course, today it's become more or less a standard now. So sustainability to me is very passionate. The irony of it, I'm working on currently on a project where sustainability again is a core pillar. And when I say on a project, the project its scale is 23 square kilometers. That's the size of half of the Bible. So it's a massive project. And I say, hey, you truly believe sustainable, leave it the way it is, that's sustainable, right? So sustainability is a very loosely term. I like the way Dana and Saeed kind of looked at it. It depends on perspective. Is it financial sustainability? Is it environmental sustainability? Is it human capital sustainability? Is it societal sustainability, right? So it's a perspective you take. So it's vast. Is it important? Absolutely, it's important. I think everybody's got to get a buy into it. But at the same time, I feel today people use it so loosely, right? Like back in the day, you stand on for Miss World and say world peace. Oh, wow, you know what I mean? We still
True.
Right?
It is a loosely used term.
I see this, and I'm just, by the way, I'm going to run away in another 20 minutes because I've got to get on a flight. Is that the most sustainability thing? No, it's not. Right? Every flight I take from here, I'm coming to Dubai, is every flight I take, I'm burning the equivalent of, I know, some 3 tons of carbon on a 2-way trip.
Sure.
Tons of carbon. So if you, how many of us drive an EV car?
Yeah.
None of us.
None of us,
There you go. So, and by the way, EV also, there's a theory that, and by the way,
you have the batteries and you need to store it. Yeah. It's not very.
Do you own any cryptocurrency yet or no?
I do. So
it's not sustainable because to mine it takes a lot of energy.
True.
So there are so many things. So it's broadly, is it important? Absolutely. But I feel sometimes we're very hypocritical. We say one thing, we do the other. I don't know. I'm guilty of it personally. I'm just putting it out there. But I definitely feel the first thing, at least from our business point of view, I think, as Saeed put it very well, is financial sustainability is critical. And that's one of the fundamentals, if you look at the definition of sustainability, it looks at financial, is it has to make financial sense. Then it has to make ecological sense. And of course, then it has to make a human-centric sense. So that there are three different components to it. And I think they're always related to each other. You can't look in bifurcation. So that's my take. In terms of examples, there are hundreds and out there. But I think the first and most one is, which we always used to say, use LED, LED, LED. It is.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not the bulb, by the way. And this is something that we advocated back when I was in EMAR, and I'm again talking in 2012. EMAR was very progressive in the thought process, and we started retrofitting all buildings. I was talking to Philips, I was talking to GE, forget the Chinese guys out there were cheaper. And the main thing that we were looking at is, in an essence, today it's become a standard, we just accept LED, right? But I'm saying back in 7-8 years ago, is that one bulb consumes about 70% less energy. But the second thing is, the resources used to replace that bulb is once in 3 years, hopefully, right? Then, of course, the disposal of that item, right? So when you do that math, it's a simple example of a bulb. But if we always keep that in mind, now you may pay more today, but you're meeting three different things, right? Which is the environmental, human-centric, and ecological. So you're kind of meeting these metrics. That's just an example I'm throwing out there. And I think Dana alluded on it really well on the human-centric part. I know, Dana, hats off to you. You guys are doing some awesome work at Probus. I have to say that because I follow you guys. And I think you all are setting a gold standard. I feel bad now.
So, Samir, I have a question from Dax Phillip. So he's asking, in terms of the human sustainability, he's asking, do you think work from home scenario did not affect the utilization of resources more in the building? He's asking about how people are used. Work from home is a widely used term right now, and people are far away, but yet they are able to connect. So what is your take on that?
So here's Braxton. My take is it depends on the industry you're in. So if you break it up, if you're in a knowledge-based industry, like what we're doing right now, great. If you tell me me or my management team can manage buildings, I'm going to kick their butt and say, you better get on site and manage a building. You can't sit in an office, sit in a suit and tie. Anybody who's worked for me knows that, right?
Sure.
You can't show up to work in a suit and tie if you work for me. Because in our business, it's the business of being in the ground. It's like saying, I'm a chef, but I don't work in a kitchen. Right? So, even Gordon Ramsay guy gets up, puts a towel, and he's cooking for his wife, right? If you're in the business, you've got to be there physically, guys. I strongly believe in that. Can certain tasks be done remotely? Of course they could be. Can we use technology? Of course you could use. But fundamentally, it's a business of being on site. So Braxton, I hope I answered that question.
Okay, Saeed, I have a statement or a question from Nasser Barhoum. He's asking, sustainability will require initial capex. What options do you consider to fund it to deliver tangible results? So Saeed, what's your take on that?
Well, every asset has a cost, and every asset has a life cycle. And linking it to our subject, which is sustainable community management. So the community manager today has to be multi-skilled. He has to do, as a community manager, do his job of communication, where he has to be very skilled in the way he writes and to provide reliable messages to the customers, but also to be aware of the fundamentals of asset management, because at the end, what the asset manager do or does?
Protect the asset, yes.
Protect the asset is how to optimize the life cycle of the asset, okay? But when we say optimize, it's not about cutting. If I appreciate Mr. Nasser's Barhoum's question, but to me, I always believe in optimization and not in cutting. but along with that, you minimize the cost. So luckily in our community management, we have something called reserve fund. And that reserve fund, it's not like prior to 2015. I remember prior to 2015, you ask any community management company, what is the reserve fund? It's 1 dirham per square foot. How did you calculate it? Yeah, how did you calculate it? No, it's just market standard. Okay, it's not like that. It's, you have to be, that's why I say the community manager has to be aware of the principles of asset management, and he has to be also aware of scope of work, of facilities management, to be able to understand what the third party started doing from 2015 in getting all the assets of a project into an Excel sheet, put in the life cycle of every asset, take the initial cost of an asset and divide it over 20 or 25 years. Then we come to a figure. So the origin is to start from total number of assets with their total sum, I mean total amount of money, then come to price per square foot. So that has changed compared to earlier. So come back to Nasser's question about the assets. Yes, the assets that are in every project, they are very important. The way you provide your scope of work to the service provider and the way you monitor also your service provider participate in increasing or decreasing the life cycle of an asset.
Okay, so we will go to the next point. Dana, I would like to point this question out to you. So is Dana still there? I believe Dana has lost the connection. So let me ask another question then. Liviu, how is the real estate offices changing around the world in terms of your business? How is it changing from Brussels, Berlin, London, New York? I believe your business model covers a lot of space. How do you, the immune building standard, how has it covered it? And what is the changes that you see in the current space?
It is not yet public, but I can tell you that all the big players, multinationals having offices all over the world, are working for their concept concerning the future of workplace. There are a lot of ideas how the future office would look like, and of course how community will management will change in order to take care of the new issues that we are facing. And by the way, this is a huge event in the world, and definitely the world of tomorrow should change and adapt to challenges we face during this pandemic. So in our opinion, it will be new models for real estate concerning the ability of buildings to adapt to new challenges. As you know, the last few thousands of years, initially we have wind and rain and we build walls. Then we had fires and we build and earthquakes, and we build the fire codes and structural codes. And then we have issues concerning environment. So we build green buildings and sustainability concepts.
Sure.
And now we have this pandemic. So our answer was we have to build a healthy by design system and a new concept, which is what we call it immune building standard. And I want to add concerning the community manager, he will have new functions. And I want to emphasize on one. We call it immune steward. So when such a pandemic or a similar threat, bacteriological or toxicological, will appear, this function should be able to press buttons in what we call healthy by design system. It's something similar with a firefighting system. You, by law, are obliged to invest into the firefighting system, and then we pray never to use it. The same way, we have to invest in the healthy by design system and to teach, and we are preparing courses for that, the immune steward, to be able to press the buttons, to apply rules, and to make some equipment to function in that building. And that's the way the new real estate will look like for all the buildings around the world. Our tenants are only very big multinationals with offices all over the world. And each of them is working on their own model for the future of work. Definitely, in the end, we'll have a standard for that. That's the death of open space office, as you know. It will be a different kind of office where community will have a very important role. And the name of the game, in our opinion, is experiences. We have to give to our people experiences, including health experience and building trust. And that's the way we think these days, this month, the whole world of offices will change.
Okay, so I'll shoot the next question to Dana. Dana, in the past couple of years, you and InProvis have done a lot of things together. As a leader in the organization, a lot of things would have happened in terms of human capital, in terms of the sustainability of the asset. What are the challenges that you faced, and what can other leaders learn from the challenges that you faced? Please.
So I think one of the things that I've realized that you can put all the technology in there and you can get as innovative as you need to be, but if you don't have the right resources, if you don't train them, if you don't get them on board and cascade that to the bottom and top, then your investment is not really worth it, because it's just as good.
Very true.
So that's one of the challenges. You have to come to a point where you decide, you know, can you have that shift? Do you have the people on board ready to do that shift? And then what can you do? So, I mean, there are things that can be done that needs, we've looked at it as the low-hanging fruit, and some things were just an easy given that we can immediately run with. And there are things that you have to invest more, and then you start looking, is it worth it? For example, solar panels could be very expensive. Is it worth it? What is the payback period? You know, do you go with that, or are there other solutions, and how does that impact? And what's the, you know, an advantage of having these? So it's deciding on the right technology, on the right fit, on the right partners, on the right people, and then obviously having everybody on board is how you can start with this kind of shift.
Have you faced resistance, and how did you deal with them?
So resistance in the sense that some people just want to do things the way they've always done. And that obviously comes with maybe trying to explain and decide, is it the system is not working for us, or is it just people who are reluctant and they may not fit in that sense, but could be used somewhere else? And then resistance on the ground from the service charge, for example, payers, because then you have to educate that this is a short-term investment, but for a long-term vision, right? And I've always said that the challenge here is that some people look at as owners, it's not still a mature market, and some people are here for a short term, and some people have made it as a home to them. And some people want to spend and invest in a long-term vision and continue to enhance the community and the assets and the lifespan of the systems. Others look at it as like, why should we spend now and put money where we're not going to be around to enjoy it? Trying to balance these two views is always difficult, and that's why it's important to have a community management company that's professional, that has no agenda, and that is looking after the best interests of the community overall and the residents and the owners as a long-term vision.
Okay, I have a candid question from Bashrat Ahmed. I will lead it to Samir. So Samir, Bashrat is asking, community management has almost been taken over by the government agencies, which in turn rely on the agencies for advice. How do we see this affecting the sustainability in the community management sector? And how could industry, the community management industry, educate the government regulators? So basically what Bashrat is asking is, the government has taken over community management and they also look to them for advice. And since you're extremely candid, I would love to hear from you, and the viewers would love to hear from you as well. Please go on.
Firstly, I'm trying to get to Dubai on a flight, man. Don't get me arrested. I think it's really interesting. So I was just before this, the dynamics. So I think as Dana as well, and this dovetails very well into the next question Bashar just asked, is the industry in this part of the world cannot be compared with anywhere else. Let's get this right first.
True, very true.
The word community management as well was a word which 3 people or 2 people in EMAR picked this word up from the US because we wanted to model it based on the US system. And today we all use this word community management. It is only used in the US and in little parts of Canada as well, the West Coast, not in the East Coast. In Australia, it's called something else. In India, it's called a corporate. It's, globally, it's called different names. It may mean the same thing. Now, the difference, especially of the Middle East, and I'm based in Saudi Arabia, it's a little different because we have a huge local population, but I don't know how is it in Abu Dhabi for Provis, but pretty much Dubai and even Abu Dhabi to some has a huge, if you look at this panel, raise your hand if you belong to this, the UAE, none of us do, right? That is the first thing you need to understand, because if you own an asset, you need to ideally be rooted in that asset for a very long time, have a long-term vested interest. Like perhaps we have in our own home countries, which an asset gets passed down generation to generation, or we sell it, or we increase value. Here, we're all transactional. I own multiple rental properties. What I do is I'm just looking, hey, it goes up, sell, buy, sell quick, right?
Sure.
Now, not everybody has that aptitude in the longer interest, as what Dana is saying, and that's why what she said is absolutely spot on. It should be, you got to be lucky that you find somebody, a good community management company that doesn't use, as Saeed was saying, that reserve fund of 1 dirham or 10%. And walk away, right? Yeah. So I think that's something that's really important. So the government kind of getting involved, I think, is important. Otherwise, you will have people, which by the way, Sam, it happened in Toronto as well.
Sure.
Community management wiped out the service fund, ran away, never to be found, and they're stuck. So it's important the government gets involved, I think.
Okay. So next question. I'll direct it to Saeed. What are some of the profound changes that you've seen or noticed, in terms of the organization, the general overall community management industry from 2019 and post-COVID? So what are your thoughts on this?
So 2019, or the move from 2018 to 2019, I think everyone agrees that it was by the implementation of MULAC. So first, the issuance of Law 6, 2019 in November, and then the implementation of MULAC as the only platform or the main platform for service charges in Dubai. Between 19 and 20, people started getting there because there was a lot of requirement that every community management company or every GOP company has seen as new, and that has created a new change to the community managers, to the budget review auditors, to our friends in and colleagues in RERA, I mean the legislator himself, where the implementation was felt as being so fast. 2020, it was more, or the impact, we have seen a bigger impact in terms of not only MULAC, it's the requirement to conform to the lockdown. If you come back to March 2020, the lockdown started. It was, people were recovering from the, let's say, somehow the damages of the previous budget submissions and approvals, etc. And they were faced with a new fact, which is they have to get their budgets approved and have online meetings. So that human touch that used to have by going and convincing Mr. X or Y has suddenly disappeared. But sure, I have to commend the activity of all the community management companies and their partners in the facilities management, because the works, or if you, many works have continued from the online, and the technology has played a big role while moving from 2020 to now. We had meetings with RERA, we have meetings with civil defense, we have meetings with like today the Dubai police. All those meetings were coordinated in a seamless manner. The communication with the owners have continued, okay, but the human touch with those authorities have been a little bit, I wouldn't say nullified, but has decreased. So this is, if you want the picture from 2019, 20 and 2021. However, the criticality that I mentioned earlier of the community management in the industry has remained the same. The communication with owners have continued. The meetings with the committee members have continued. The budget approvals and discussions online have continued, and the submissions have continued. So I would say COVID-19 has imposed new way of work. On the management companies, it was the easiest part because maybe their work is more administrative. But as Samir mentioned, when you are in the facilities management, it's quite impossible because whatever technology or whatever you digitalized, let's say, is your organization, you still need the labor to go and check the chiller compressor, the fresh air unit, the FCU. So there were ways of that has witnessed big change, and there were administrative parts that could continue normally and became, a new lifestyle, let's say, over the work has continued.
Okay, excellent point. Dana, so we've been saying Dubai building a lot of buildings in the past couple of years, and finally the buildings are aging as well. So they're aging, it's been almost 10, 20 years. So previously buildings that were very old were demolished, but we have a system of, constructing very good buildings, and these buildings are getting older now. What do you see as being the future of sustainability and community management in the next maybe 10, 20 years?
Honestly, I think it depends on the building and how well maintained it has been from the beginning. It's never too late to start, yet some systems may have to be replaced altogether. And I think this is where data analytics, intelligence, technology plays a role, because then you can start understanding your buildings properly, and you can understand, do I invest in the system, or is it time to replace the system altogether? Today, we look at things, for example, BMS cloud integration, where we can understand our buildings and how they're functioning, and we're at a point where we can benchmark not just one community within 4 identical buildings, but different communities across, and we're aiming to be able to benchmark internationally and globally to be able to understand how these buildings are performing. I think there's a lot that can be done, but it cannot be done the way it was always done. You really have to invest in FM as a provider, as a partner. You need to align, you have to invest in technology, you have to invest in artificial intelligence. There's so much today that things cannot continue to be maintained the way they were before. There's a lot of savings and optimization as well in terms of operations and efficiency if you do it right. And then you can have long-term buildings and buildings that are well sustained. And like you do see in Europe, in Canada, and North America, there's a lot of buildings that have been standing there for such a long time. They're just as beautiful. They're actually more valuable in terms of an asset. And it's just because they've been very nicely maintained and the systems have been taken care of.
Very true, very true. Excellent points. Samir, do you have any last points to add? We have maybe another 5 minutes.
Wow, put me on the spot. In terms of, if you look at it, I think it all comes down, if you're looking at this, sustainability, what we're talking about, it just comes down to basic common sense. And I think we're all saying that, if, like what Dana said, Saeed said as well, and then, Liviu said as well, is in terms of everything that we do is going to make sense for today. And sometimes does it make sense? And I think that's what some of the audience was asking as well, to add some money in today that it can make sense down the road. And that's all comes down to common sense. Unfortunately, that's not very common apparently. So that might be the problem. But all of us are saying the same thing, and we all know it. The problem is the difference between people knowing it and doing it. I think that's the separator, and that's what gives success to people, right? In whichever way you look at it, is everybody knows how to get rich, everybody knows how to make money. The difference is the guys who do it get rich, the guys who they're still toiling away. Similarly, in our business, I think we all know what's out there, right? But are we using it or not? That's the question we need to leave the audience to think about.
Okay.
It's not rocket science.
Okay. Liviu, what is your take on this? Where are we in the next 10, 20 years? You have a global perspective right now. You're planning to launch your standardized testing, standardized process of looking at the immune standards in buildings around the world. where do you see yourself as a organization in the next 10, 20 years? And where do you see the literally as, you know, a generation that has gone through COVID? A very long time ago, we saw a pandemic that happened in 1935. But right now we are in the new age where we have gone through a pandemic and we are still going through it. Where do you see this going in the next 10, 20 years?
First of all, the new notion which will become a beacon is sustainability and resilience in the built environment. We have to live with this kind of challenges. This is not the last pandemic, unfortunately. Unfortunately, this will last probably another 2 years. And we have to learn how to live with these kind of challenges. And that's the global view that probably will be the next trend. How can we adapt to these kind of challenges and life to go on without any lockdowns and big issues that lockdown is coming with? And the answer is a new concept concerning healthy building, and the workplace of the future should adapt these kinds of challenges. And this is what we saw happening in each big organization about their people, about the offices and the way they will work. It's a new paradigm, not only one, a few will appear. One of them we are very sure will be the immune building standard, and later the healthy building standard. And it's the way people will work without being all the time remote. Because remote is good in the beginning, it's nice to have it from time to time, but real work, it's inside teams. If human being was conquering the world, they done it because they were able to work together, being very small against huge huge threats. They were able to conquer this planet working together in a physical world. Technology, as I mentioned, is not yet able to take all this way of working together. It's about communities, it's about people, and new challenges. We have to adapt to this new challenge, and the way is to invent a new concept, which is healthy buildings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent points. Dana, please.
I just want to quickly, I think just before time runs out, I'm very cautious of time, but I just want to, I think it's very important to leave the audience with the right message and encourage them. And just going back to, I think Samir said about sustainability and a buzzword. I think after this session, are we going to stop getting in our cars? No. Are we still going to fly? Yes. Are we still going to be doing things that conflict with the pillars of sustainability? For sure. But I think it's also very important is that we realize that while we're still going to put things out into the environment, we still have to be careful of what we can control today. And that's why I started by saying it has to be balanced. And we have to make sure that we do so without compromising on for the future generations. And funny enough, 2 years ago, I did a PropTech talk, and I said, is PropTech a buzzword and an opportunity? So yes, we have these buzzwords that come out every once in a while, and I just leave with sustainability today. I ask, is it a buzzword or is it a social responsibility? I think it's a social responsibility.
It is.
Not within the corporate. It's for each and every individual. There's 17 different goals today. It's up to each individual or corporate function or entity to decide what works for them, what goals can they align with, where they have a positive impact and can make a change.
Excellent, excellent, Dana. Okay, so last but not least, I have a question from Dax Philip to Saeed. Saeed, Dax is asking, what is the best way to evaluate a sustainability policy set in an environment, in a dynamic environment, where it is not working? Let's say a sustainability policy was implemented and it is not working anymore. How should managers deal with it, or how does management deal with it? So that's a question from Dax. Saeed, please.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Dax, and greetings from this while talking. I think community management companies have always to be able to adapt to change. There is all community management companies in Dubai particularly, they work under legislature with RERA. And I think throughout my experience is one of the best legislations that I have seen. I have taken over projects in Dubai and other Emirates, and also as in Saudi or Jordan, etc. So far, and in my own country. So so far, I find it one of the best legislations that exist, because it defines a framework to management companies to work within a certain manner. So coming back to the question, how the consistency, I mean the policy that Doug spoke about regarding sustainability. So first, we invite everyone to have a sustainability policy in place and in writing. Explain it to the employees. Cascade the information to the owners and residents. And I think this is very important. And when there are changes in the regulations, it is always for the best. I have seen, for those who have seen the master plan of Dubai 2040, it's a very optimistic plan. It's all focused towards well-being of residents. There are a lot of sustainability actions that are being taken during the project itself, and this is where I concord with Mr. Liviu. To have a project, a sustainable project, definitely its management will be more sustainable, okay? And to have a sustainable project, there must be a legislation or those who participate in the legislation to make some things mandatory. We cannot speak about sustainability while a community management company today still receive buildings from developers who have, to increase their profit, remove the BTU meters, for instance, and then they have to go through retrofitting.
Exactly.
And you know what is the cost of post-construction.
Oh, yeah.
So to have sustainability policy in place is, I would say, it's a must. It should be part of the operation manual of companies, but it needs to be adapted from time to time and based on the change in regulations and laws.
Excellent. So Saeed, thank you for your time. It is not often that we get to get together, but thank you for taking your time and coming together, Dana, Liviu, and Samir. Excellent conversation and excellent ideas and excellent perspective from the leaders of the industry. So thank you again from me, Sam, aka the Oya Ninja, and thank you again to everybody else, the viewers and the questions. And it's been a fun webinar, and I look forward to doing a lot of more webinars with you guys. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All the best.